Alright, so today we have got a service call on a Manitowoc Ice machine that is not working correctly. And if you look right here, we are off on a high pressure cutout.
So we've got a bad fan cycle switch. Let's confirm. As soon as my head pressure gets above 300, okay? We have 208 volts across the fan cycle switch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bypass it and show us how the motor's working. So I went in there and I pulled the lead off of the fan cycle switch and put it directly on the contactor back in there. And now my condenser fan motor's running and my head pressure's coming down. This is a very common issue on the Manitowoc Ice machines. These fan cycle switches go bad all the time. So we're gonna see, it really depends. If this machine is under warranty, then I have to put that factory one back in. If it's not under warranty, I can put an aftermarket one in that won't fail. Very, very common issue on the Manitowoc's is these fan cycle switches. So, and if you don't know how they operate, basically, sometimes it'll say it on there. Yeah, it says it's a switch that is normally open, okay? And it will only close when the pressure gets high enough. Okay, so the switch closes when the pressure climbs. So when the pressure climbs to 250, the switch closes. When the pressure drops below 200, the switch opens. And it's just a way to help with capacity on the unit. These machines use a cool vapor discharge on the defrost. It's similar to a hot gas defrost, but we can go into that later. But anyways, they use a cool vapor defrost, and we need high head pressure or higher head pressure when we are defrosting. So it cycles the fan along with, bypasses the condenser with the headmaster valve, or floods the condenser, I should say, to increase the head pressure. So between the two, we have a flooded condenser and we have a fan cycle switch. It drives the head pressure up in the wintertime and helps us to get that higher head pressure so that way we can defrost the ice properly. Okay, I'm currently making a flare, okay? And when you're making flares, it is easy, but you also can mess it up really easily too. The biggest thing when you're making a flare is you got to deburr the pipe, okay? So when you cut it, you naturally pinch the pipe down, okay? It's probably difficult to pick it up on camera, but that opening has been pinched down and there's a nice little burr because your tubing cutter applies a lot of pressure in a cylinder, and when you spin it, it just actually smashes the pipe down. You can't always do this, but on 1/4 inch pipe, there's actually a little trick. What you can do is actually use your tubing cutter and only score the pipe, okay? So you're only gonna go deep enough. It's kind of a thing that you have to, trial and error, figure out how deep to go. And then you're actually gonna snap the pipe off, and you will get a burr-free cut completely. You will not have to deburr it. This is good because for some reason I can't find my small deburring tool right now. So I kind of did this and realized what happened. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about scoring it. I know the camera's having a hard time focusing, but I just went around and I did not pinch the pipe. I just cut the outside edge, and now I'm going to snap that off with my pliers. So the one on the left is the one that I scored and snapped off. The one on the right is the one that used a tubing cutter. So you can see there's quite a bit of a difference, and you're not going to have any burrs in your flare. So it's just a nice, clean, even break. Again, this is going to be hard to do on larger diameter pipe, but because it's 1/4 inch, it's really easy. So then I was able to flare it, and I don't have any damaged burred ends on the flare. I know it's hard for the camera to focus on this, but so now I've got my little mechanism right here that I need to install. Okay, so here's what we did. We had a bad fan cycle control. I found out that the unit was not under warranty anymore. Like I had mentioned before, these units have a problem with the fan cycle controls. It's a known problem with the factory. The little peanut pressure controls go bad all the time. So, because it wasn't under warranty, I'm doing the customer a favor by putting an aftermarket fan cycle control. I'm not a fan of doing that, and I know I preach in my videos to use factory parts, and I really do suggest it, but this is one of those situations where I need to make an exception. These things constantly go bad. So, and they're welded in too, so you either do a pinch off tool and unbraze it and put it on, or you recover all the charge. Or you can do what I just did right now. It's out of warranty. That's very important. Is I installed a pressure control right here and used a service tee that had a Schrader depressor in it. So I was able to screw it on with pressure in the system, put some Nylog on it, tighten it up, and I did not have to recover the charge at all. And I set the fan cycle control to where I want it, and I'm gonna watch a cycle right now and see where the fan cycle control turns on and off at. Okay, so this is one of those situations where I'm gonna say, yeah, it's better to go ahead and put an aftermarket control in because it's gonna save the customer some money.
All right. Nothing too crazy. This was just a fan cycle switch that went bad on a Manitowoc Ice machine. Okay. Like I said, normally I'll throw the factory one back in, but oh my gosh, if you guys don't know, if you do, you guys understand. I mean, these things go bad so much, it's kind of ridiculous. So, but anyways, the one that I put in, the Johnson control, I don't have the part number, but it's just a standard Penn Johnson control, whatever controller. They last forever. There's, they're not going to go bad. And, I would say that the factory one that was in there probably lasts 2 years, if that, if you're lucky. So, save the customer a headache there. And just so that you know too, I did keep the customer in the decision-making process on that. I did bring it up to them and say, hey, here's the deal. This is what's going on. I could do this right now. I can order the factory part. I highly suggest this. And, just let them kind of be part of the decision-making process too, okay? So you don't want to just kind of do things on your own and be like a cowboy, just, fixing it your way. I like to try to keep the customer in the loop and let them know what's going on. I don't make those decisions lightly either, going away from the factory engineered units. But once you get confident and start working in the field a lot and really work on the equipment, you start to know what works and what doesn't work. I really preach about using factory parts and not changing the way that the box was designed, but there is times where you have to do that. Okay. And, I may not preach about it enough in my videos, because I try to instill the idea of, putting the box back together the way that it came, or the unit, or whatever it is, and then there's those instances where you have to kind of try to do things on your own and make an educated decision to say, hey, this is going to save the customer money in the long run. So that's where we're at. I want to say thank you guys so very much for taking the time to watch my videos. I really appreciate it. Okay. I will catch you guys on the next one. Okay.